This lecture is for you if you're involved in any kind of organizational change. Most of those agile transformation initiatives are failing. And in this lecture, I want to tell you why, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. Here's a statistic that should make you sit up and pay attention. Right now, about 94 to 95% of organizations are using agile practices. Sounds great, right? Everybody's doing it. Except here's the problem. 84% of those organizations are performing below high proficiency. Think about that for a second. Almost everyone is doing agile, but the vast majority are struggling with it. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, we're doing the stand-ups, we've got the retrospectives, we bought Jira, we sent people to training. Why does this still feel so broken? And that's exactly the right question to be asking, because what most organizations are doing isn't actually agile transformation, it's agile theater. They're going through the motions, they're doing all the ceremonies, but they're not getting the results. Let me tell you what's really happening. Most organizations approach agile transformation like they're installing software. They think they can follow a manual, check some boxes, and expect it to just work. They send everyone to a 2-day training, they start doing stand-ups, and they declare victory. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Agile isn't a process you install. It's a cultural evolution you guide. Think of it this way. Imagine trying to teach someone to swim by having them attend a weekend seminar on swimming techniques and then throwing them in the deep end of a pool on Monday morning. That's essentially what most agile transformations look like. And then people wonder why they're drowning. Now, let me tell you the real reasons this happens, because once you understand the root causes, you can actually do something about them. First, leadership thinks agile is just for IT. It's not. It's a business strategy. Second, training focuses on ceremonies instead of mindset. You get cargo cult agile, where you have all the rituals but none of the actual results. Third, organizations try to transform everything at once, which creates overwhelming change and usually catastrophic failure. And fourth, nobody addresses the culture. And as the saying goes, culture eats process for breakfast. Here's the data that really drives this home. 70 to 80% of agile transformations fail due to lack of executive support. Not because teams don't want it, not because the methodology is flawed, but because leadership doesn't genuinely commit to changing how the organization operates. They want the benefits of agile without actually giving up control, without actually empowering teams, without actually changing how they make decisions. So what's the right way to do this? Well, let me walk you through a framework that actually works. It's built on what successful organizations have learned, and it's structured around 4 key phases. Phase 1 is foundation and readiness assessment. Before you send a single person to training or change a single process, you need to ask yourself honestly, is our organization actually ready for this? You need to assess whether you have genuine leadership support, whether your organization is flexible or rigid, how fast you can make decisions, whether you have any previous agile experience. And I mean real experience, not just watching YouTube videos. If you're answering no to more than 3 of these critical questions, you need to address those gaps before transformation, not during it. Phase 2 is where most organizations either get it right or get it completely wrong. It's change management and training excellence. Here's what you need to understand. Information without transformation is just entertainment. You're not trying to teach people new facts. You're trying to change how they think, how they work, and how they make decisions under pressure. That requires a completely different approach. You need 2 things working together here. First, you need individual readiness. Do people personally want to learn? Do they understand why change is necessary? What's in it for them? And second, you need organizational support. Is the path clear? Do they have the tools they need? Is someone there to support them when things get difficult? You can't skip either one of these. If someone doesn't have personal motivation, no amount of organizational support will help. And if someone is motivated but the organization keeps blocking them, they'll give up. And listen, this is where you need to invest real money. I'm talking about 16 hours of training for Scrum Masters, costing around $2,000 to $3,000 for certification. Similar investment for product owners. Development teams need 14 to 16 hours. And leadership, this is crucial. Leadership needs 8 to 16 hours of training that can cost $2,000 to $5,000 per person. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's expensive. But let me ask you this. What's more expensive? Investing $5,000 to $10,000 per person in proper training, or watching your $2 million transformation fail because nobody knew what they were doing? Phase 3 is where the rubber meets the road. This is your pilot program execution. This is where theory becomes reality, and this is where most transformations either build momentum or lose it forever. Your pilot is not just a test. It's your proof of concept for skeptical stakeholders. It's your learning laboratory for what works in your unique context. Now, here's something critical that nobody talks about. Expect a 20 to 40% productivity dip in the first 3 to 6 months. Let me say that again because it's absolutely essential. Teams will slow down at first, and that's completely normal. They're learning new ways of working while still trying to deliver. It's like learning to type properly. At first, you're slower than Hunt and Peck, but eventually, you're much faster. But if leadership isn't prepared for this, they'll panic at month 3 and kill the whole initiative. You have to set these expectations early. The timeline typically looks like this. Months 1 through 3, you've got that 20 to 40% productivity dip. That's your learning curve. By months 6 to 9, you're back to baseline productivity. By month 12, you're seeing 15 to 25% improvement above baseline. And by months 18 to 24, you're looking at 30 to 50% total gains. That's the real prize, but you've got to be patient enough to get there. Phase 4 is scaling to enterprise adoption. You've proven it works with your pilot. Now comes the real challenge of scaling without breaking what you've built. Most organizations make one of two mistakes here. They either scale too fast and overwhelm the organization, or they never scale at all and the pilot becomes an isolated success that eventually dies. The key is deliberate, incremental scaling. Think of it like planting a garden. You don't plant the entire field at once. You start with a small plot, learn what grows well, then gradually expand. Your first wave is 3 to 5 willing teams over 3 to 6 months post-pilot. Your second wave is 10 to 15 teams at the department level over the next 6 to 12 months. And your third wave is enterprise-wide transformation, 15 plus teams over another 12 to 24 months. Total timeline from pilot to enterprise, 24 to 48 months for large organizations. Anyone promising you faster is selling fantasy. Now, let me give you some practical guidance for your first 90 days, because that's probably what you're really wondering about. What do I actually do? Weeks 1 and 2, your only mission is to secure leadership buy-in. Don't do anything else until you have genuine executive commitment. You need a business case presentation showing faster delivery, better quality, higher customer satisfaction. You need to align on vision and expected value. What does success look like in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months? And you need budget approval for training, coaching, and most importantly, time, because remember that productivity dip. Weeks 2 and 3, select your pilot teams carefully. You want high-performing, motivated teams who actually want to do this. Cross-functional skill coverage so they can deliver value without external dependencies. Team size of 5 to 9 people. And a product with clear customer value. Don't pick struggling teams or mission-critical projects. Set yourself up for success. Weeks 3 and 4, invest in comprehensive training. Agile for leaders for your executives and managers. Certified Scrum Master programs for your identified Scrum Masters. Product owner training for your POs, and Agile for teams for all your development team members. Budget around $5,000 to $15,000 total for your pilot teams. It's worth every penny. By week 5, you're doing your first sprint planning. Launch that first sprint with clear but achievable goals. By weeks 6 and 7, you're executing with daily stand-ups and coaching support. By the end of week 7, you're doing your first sprint review and retrospective. What went well? What needs improvement? What actions will we take next sprint? Then weeks 8 through 20, you iterate and improve. Sprint 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You need 4 to 6 sprints to achieve basic team maturity. By month 6 and beyond, you're ready to scale beyond your pilots, sharing learnings, training new teams, coordinating between teams. Here's what I want you to understand as we close this conversation. This is hard work. I'm not going to pretend it's easy. Changing how an organization works, how people think, how decisions get made, that's genuinely difficult, but it's absolutely possible. Thousands of organizations have done this successfully, from 5-person startups to 30,000 employee enterprises. In your industry, someone has figured this out. You can too. You now have a roadmap. Assess readiness before you start. Invest in training and coaching. Don't cheap out. Start with small pilots to prove it works. Manage change deliberately, focusing on culture, not just process. Scale incrementally, not all at once. Measure what matters, which is business outcomes, not activity. And persist through the learning curve. It takes 18 to 24 months minimum to reach genuine business agility. The world is changing faster than ever. Organizations that can't adapt quickly are dying. Your organization can be different. You can be the place where change happens quickly, where customer feedback drives decisions, where teams are empowered and engaged. You can lead this transformation. Start small, be patient, invest properly, and persist through the challenges. 24 months from now, you'll look back at today as the beginning of the most impactful change your organization has ever made. Now go make it happen. You've got this.